everybody. It's Monday, December 9th, 2024. Welcome to the NFL Fantasy Football Show presented by Uber Eats. Get game day deals all season long. It's me, your man, MG Marcus Grant, joined by Michael F. Florio and Laquan Jones. We all should have learned to be better at baseball. I would have been disappointed, Florio, if you were not sporting Mets gear on the day after the Mets land the biggest fish in MLB. So congrats to the Metropolitans on Juan Soto.
Thank you. Not only do they get him, taking him from the Yankees. And like, I know people were like, why do you care about the Yankees? Like, no, I grew up as a Met fan in New York after my team was taken hostage by a Ponzi scheme, and Yankee fans mocked us for decades. Like, I'm celebrating this till the wheels fall off.
I feel like self-respecting American sports fan has feelings about the Yankees, just like they have feelings about the Cowboys, the Lakers, I guess at this point, probably the Dodgers too, but whatever. We got a whole lot to dive into on today's show. We will have our biggest takeaways from the week that was. Still one more game, of course, to be played. Monday Night Football between the Bengals and the Cowboys, but we will have our look at the rest of Week 14, plus the waiver wire, because no fantasy playoffs start for most leagues coming up this week. The waiver wire going to be very, very important for a whole lot of people. But let's get started, as we always do, with some fantasy headlines and a couple of quarterback headlines to dive into. We will start in Las Vegas, where Aiden O'Connell was carted off the field after suffering a knee injury in the game on Sunday. And early reports are this could be season-ending for O'Connell. So, Florida, we have gone through Gardner Minshew. We have gone through Aiden O'Connell. It would appear, barring some signing during the week, that Desmond Ridder is the next man up. Now, Brock Bowers has been good regardless. Jacoby Myers has been pretty good regardless of the quarterback. Is Desmond Ridder a bridge too far for us to keep starting these skill position guys in Vegas?
Definitely not with Brock Bowers, but I know Patrick Claybon had been calling out Aiden O'Connell for not scrambling ever in his NFL career, and he did like 3 times yesterday, and every time he did, he came up lame. So like, I think we realized why he doesn't run ever. But Brock Bowers, look, he is simply too good to get away from. He already broke Sam Laporta's rookie record for tight end record for catches. He's a little over 100 yards away from setting the yard record, which Mike Ditka's record has stood since the 60s. That is how impressive Brock Bowers is. And like you said, the quarterback play hasn't really been all that great. So Desmond Ridder, maybe a little bit of a knock, but not enough for me to get away from him. If anything, maybe this takes some shine away from Jacoby Myers. He's much more option dependent, but I do think he is even in play just because of volume. So that one depends a little bit more on who you have besides him. But yeah, unless you have like Trey McBride or George Kittle, I don't see how you get away from Brock Bowers.
I mean, I just keep flashing back to last year, in Atlanta, where we were so frustrated for guys like Drake London and Kyle Pitts because it was Desmond Ridder. Turns out with Pitts, maybe the quarterback wasn't the situation there, but for Drake London, it certainly was impactful getting away from Desmond Ridder this season. Other quarterback news, Laquan, Derek Carr suffers a left hand fracture. Another quarterback who was injured trying to scramble. He also, as you mentioned in our text chain, trying to do all Taysom Hill type things and hurdle people, which no.
That's not your job, buddy.
That's not your bag. That is not in your bag at all. But I mean, look, Laquan, we have been through so many injuries, right? With the wide receivers, Olave and Shaheed. We've lost Taysom Hill. So many guys gone now. Now Derek Carr is gone. I mean, what are we doing with the Saints at this point?
Man, I mean, Alvin Kamara is the only safe option, man, because you honestly lose that deep ball with MVS. So I'm not going to be banking on him to have that boomer bust. It's most likely going to be bust during this playoff run. And I can't trust guys, out there with quarterbacks that you can't even name off the top of your head. Like when the guy came in, number 3, I don't even know his name. I'm just thinking, like, who's this guy? Where's Spencer Rattler?
By the way.
Yes. Who is this guy? And I'm like, this does not seem like it's good for my pass catchers. But again, who's left? Chris Olave's gone. Rashid's gone. I mean, I don't even know. Mason Tippmann, maybe? Like, it's like guys that are just guys that you cannot trust. Like, MVS seems like, a good option to go to, but we need that deep ball to exist there. And I don't think it's there with Jake Henner.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not a good situation. Even the thing about Alvin Kamara, as you mentioned, we saw a lot of Kendre Miller. And obviously, it's a new regime because when it was Dennis Allen, he never had one nice thing at all to say about Kendre. Like, not even like the way he wears his socks. He couldn't say one nice thing at all about him. With Darren Rizzi, it's a whole different situation. Rizzi seems to like Kendre Miller, wants to get him on the field, and we saw a lot of him this past week. So even the Alvin Kamara workhorse thing might be going away, which is probably taking away the one thing that we thought we could count on in New Orleans. I mean, if Miller's going to get more touches and especially get them down near the goal line, it's going to be tough sledding for anybody trying to start Kamara the rest of the way, for sure.
I just look at Miller as basically a Taysom Hill, but an actual running back, like with the usage in the red zone and all the other stuff. But I think Alvin Kamara, for the most part, should be fine. No? Right?
Maybe? I don't know.
Feels like a situation where he won't score many touchdowns, but he'll have like the 10 catches for 48 yards or something like that.
Let's go. I'm all in on that. I'm okay with that. I'm sad. I'm not greedy, man. The playoffs are here. I need that.
All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see how this thing goes. But I will say that the early returns are a little bit concerning for Alvin Kamara. Hopefully, he remains a fantasy hero for you. In the meantime, let's look back at some fantasy heroes presented by Subway. These are the top scores so far in week 14 with 2 more teams left to play. Josh Allen did everything except pull out a win. Counts for 6 touchdowns, 342 passing yards, 82 rushing yards, nearly 52 fantasy points from Josh Allen. Jeebus. Zach Charbonnet, the Seahawks sipping Charbonnet, and I don't think the Cardinals particularly liked it. 134 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground, also 7 catches, 59 yards, 38.3 points there. Puka Nacua had himself a day, and what was a really entertaining game over at SoFi Stadium. 12 catches, $162, a touchdown. Also, 16 rushing yards and a touchdown, nearly 42 points for Puka. George Kittle doing things for the 49ers, 6 catches, 151 yards, 21.1 points there. Jason Sanders, 4 made field goals for the Miami Dolphins. That was 16 points. And the 49er defense having a day against the Bears. 7 sacks, a takeaway, 13 points allowed, 13 fantasy points scored for the Niners defense. So those are some of the top level fantasy heroes. Now look a little bit closer to home. Laquan, who was your hero for week 14?
Man, I needed this so bad from Tyrone Tracy because the wire was so weird this week with the running backs. Like, you look at a Sincere McCormick, look at Isaiah Davis, but I was happy that we were able to lean on Tyrone Tracy. The dude had a season high 10 targets, man, because it was looking nasty on the ground when he had the layup matchup. But Drew Lock, he brings a little bit more functionality and familiarity with the Giants offense, playing like Daniel Jones, running out of the pocket, using his legs a little bit more, even making the same decision. So he's mirroring the Giants offense. And these are the games where Tyrone Tracy becomes very useful. But I was very, very surprised about the routes that he was running, how many routes he was running. I think that the Giants were actually putting a lot more on their plate for Tyrone Tracy to see how much more they can get out of him, because 10 targets is a little crazy to me to see when you have Devin Singletary on the sideline, and Devin Singletary barely even touched the field. So I think they were seeing how much of the workload they can put on Tyrone Tracy, and this is good news heading into the playoffs, because even though the Giants offense is bad, Tyrone Tracy still makes an impact to be fantasy relevant.
I think the thing with Tyrone Tracy for the remainder of the season is the Giants obviously are going nowhere. Why not see what you have in your rookie running back, right? Devin Singletary is kind of a stopgap option. I don't think anybody expects that they're building around him. So why not see what you got with Tracy? So maybe this is what we see for the remainder of the year. Flory, I look at your fantasy hero. Is this just to sort of ease the pain from what happened to your team yesterday, or what?
No, shout out to Laquan. The Rams played lights out. And look, it's not the end of the world for the Bills, non-conference, all that. It did break my heart because I'm like, you can't trust Sean McDermott. But I had 5 teams that came down to the wire yesterday of whether or not I was going to make the playoffs. And on 3 of them, I had a lot of play. All my team pretty much was in this window with the Cardinals, the Bills, and the Rams. And Puka Nacua showed out. First player in NFL history, 12-plus catches, 150-plus rec yards, and with a rushing and receiving touchdown. First in NFL history. And I had a league where I was long out of it record-wise. I was like 5-7, 5-8, something like that. But the last playoff spot goes to most points. And I was 75 behind. I didn't even check all day. I look at the end. I blew this person out by like 150 points because Puka Nacua in that league gave me something like 50. So Puka in 2 leagues single-handedly, him and Josh Allen dragged me into the playoffs with teams that maybe shouldn't be there, but I don't care because I'm there and I have Puka Nacua, so anything is possible now.
Once you get to the playoffs, who knows what's going to happen at that point? So Nacua Matata for Michael F. Florio and his fantasy squad this weekend. For me, my fantasy hero of the week is Chuba Hubbard because everything pointed to Chuba Hubbard not having a really good fantasy day. But apparently, unlike the leader of OVO, Hubbard still has at least a couple hits left in him. Nice day against the Eagles there. Got you 20.7 fantasy points, found the end zone, 92 rushing yards. I looked at this as, one, a bad matchup, but also a game where the Panthers were going to have to be pass heavy. So maybe we didn't see quite as much Chuba Hubbard. Maybe helped a little bit because Jonathan Brooks went down, did not play the full game. So that meant more opportunities for Hubbard over the course of the contest. But still, for him to get you 20 points in a week where you probably had to start him, but didn't really expect a whole lot, I think that goes a long way towards cementing him as certainly one of the unsung heroes of the fantasy season, but possibly a fantasy hero for you, especially if it was enough to help push you into the postseason. Those are some of our small takeaways from what we saw, but maybe a bigger takeaway from what we saw this past weekend. Laquan, what did you learn?
You guys, every team needs an Adam Thielen. Old man Thielen still got it. Like, he's out there functioning as if he's this wide receiver 1 playing for the Vikings again, because just look how much better this Panthers offense look. Every single week, we're just surprised at the things that Bryce Young was doing. Screw the stats. Screw the outcome of the game. Bryce Young looked great and was able to have Adam Thielen look like he was playing his old self. That 4th down tip drill was amazing. That's the veteran clutchness that Adam Thielen brings. So, like, the volume that he's getting right now, it's crazy to me that he's only rostered in like 50% of leagues. The amount of volume he's seeing these last 2 games, man, is something that you need to pick up and have ready and stashed on the bench to be prepared to show up and show out when his name is called. And Adam Thielen, man, I just absolutely think that he's going to be here next year for the Panthers, and the Panthers are going to go out there and win 8 games. And I say this with confidence. I say this with confidence only because last week I came on here in this mic and I said, I'm not scared of that Eagles defense. That secondary, I'm not scared at all. The Rams, they beat themselves, and Bryce Young was out there executing on this defense. The Eagles defense, guys, he almost went out there and won the game.
He did. I mean, they were very feisty on Sunday. Adam Rank has made the point that right now the Panthers are racking up a whole lot of moral victories, maybe not actual ones, but they are playing well. Thielen, to me, feels like a guy who's good in doses. Like, I don't know that you could count on him over the course of 16, 17 games. But I think, spots here or there, I do think he still has a little bit of juice left. I still think if you're the Panthers, you got to go out and get yourself a wide receiver, though, either in the draft or free agency. Because
Old man Thielen still got it.
He's got it for now. Again, like, I'm not trying to build the whole airplane out of Adam Thielen, is what I'm telling you. So,
come on.
They should get someone like Deontay Johnson.
Oh.
No, we don't. No, we're good.
All right. Let's take our minds off of that depression. What is your takeaway, Florio?
Josh Allen is the fantasy GOAT. And I've said this for a while now, but I don't know how people can even argue it. Like, he's had some of the best fantasy seasons. He has routinely finished as the QB1. And now he has the highest scoring game that a fantasy quarterback has ever had. And the first quarterback since Otto Graham with 3 passing, 3 rushing touchdowns in a game. For context, when Otto Graham played, they didn't wear helmets. They had the leather head still. Like, that is how far back we are going, and what he is doing is special right now. And I had a number of people text me this morning, like, yeah, I had 0 business winning this week, but then I had Josh Allen, and now I'm in the playoffs and stuff like that. And next week he gets the Lions. So, like, it could be, I'm not saying he's going to give you 50 again, but expect another huge number. And yeah, he is just the bet, because the elite passing, elite rushing, the best fantasy quarterback in history, in my opinion. It's between him and Lamar Jackson.
Fun fact, Otto Graham also played basketball in what was the NBL then for the Rochester Royals, which, if I have my
and they didn't jump correct, when they shot back then.
It was a bunch of plumbers. They dressed in house shoes. But if I am correct, I believe the Rochester Royals, you now know them as the Sacramento Kings. I think it's who they are currently.
Were they lighting the beam after Otto Graham?
They were not lighting the beam in Rochester, I think, back in the day. They were not. For me, the thing I learned is backup running backs matter. And we talked this time of year about adding a handcuff to whoever your top running back is across fantasy. And this week showed exactly why that is important. You look at the guys who had fantasy relevant games or who found the end zone. I mean, obviously, we expected a lot out of Isaac Garindo. That happened, was great until he got hurt late in the game. Patrick Taylor found the end zone. But Tyler Algier, Tank Bigsby, Isaiah Davis, all these guys found their way into the end zone. Kendra Miller, another one who got a whole lot of opportunity. So just a reminder, at this point in the season, you have a lot of running backs who have a lot of wear and tear. I thought he was talking about Zach Charbonnet. How I forgot him having just a bananas game against the Arizona Cardinals. This is the time of year where these guys start to get more opportunity, either because the guy ahead of them is hurt or maybe run down after a full workload. This is when you start to see some of these other guys, these secondary backs, get more opportunity. So it's worth picking some of them up, if for no other reason to have insurance for your top back, but also some of these guys might just end up being fantasy relevant over the final few weeks of the season. Yes, in fantasy, RBs matter, and backup RBs especially matter. Speaking of backups, we're going to dive into some waiver wire coming up after the break. Plus, we got a Jonnu Smith update. That and more coming up on the NFL Fantasy Football Show. Time now for the waiver wire presented by YouTube TV. Big week, Florio. The playoffs start for a lot of leagues. Who should folks be targeting?
Yeah, only quarterbacks if you need to stream, but I like Jameis Winston against the Chiefs this week, and Aaron Rodgers, surprisingly, because he gets the Jaguars' first 300-yard game in like 38 games, I believe. Zach Charbonnet should already be rostered, but if he is not, add him. Sincere McCormick led the Raiders and has a good schedule the rest of the way. Isaiah Davis and Braylon Allen split work, but both could be streamed, and both are options you need to pick up. Patrick Taylor Jr., and then I have Keyshawn Vaughn as well, because Isaac Garindo was injured yesterday as well. And then Sean Tucker, because Bucky Irving was injured, and Blake Corum, who's been getting a lot of work. For wide receivers, Adam Old Man Thielen needs to be added. I agree with Laquan. Roma Dunze. Sterling Shepard continues to be the number 2 target behind Mike Evans. And then Ray McLeod, he has kind of jumped Kyle Pitts in the target pecking order. And then tight ends, not any great options this week, but Juwan Johnson, Grant Calcaterra are probably your best bet. And then Michael Mayer, low-key, had a lot of volume despite Brock Bowers being Brock Bowers.
Yeah, I think that happened because I was going out and saying in my bold prediction that Brock Bowers would be the tight end 1 overall. So the Raiders are like, we'll show you. We're going to throw it to our other guy for a little bit. So
hands of the pod, man.
So if you started Michael Mayer, you can thank me for the performance that he had. One of the names on that list that I think is interesting, Laquan, is Roma Dunze, because look, we know obviously it's been up and down for the Bears. They did not look good, especially in the first half yesterday against the 49ers. But Odunze ended up with a couple of touchdowns. I'm still not sure who the number 2 target in the offense is behind DJ Moore, but it does feel like Caleb and Rome are starting to build something together.
Yeah, you're seeing these things flash, like these little connections and chemistry that they're building for the future. Like, this is good for Dynasty, but right now it's a headache trying to figure out which week is going to be Roma Dunze. I don't even think Thomas Brown, the head coach now, even knows who's the second target on this team, because there's times where Cole Kmet shows up. He's relevant. Then there's Keenan Allen going off last week. Now you got Roma Dunze. It's like, it's a headache that I don't think for fantasy managers they want to constantly deal with. So hopefully, these fantasy playoffs will get a little bit more ironed out, and this Caleb and Roma Dunze connection continues to build. So he's definitely, a wide receiver I want to pick up off the waiver wire, because I'm looking for straight depth. If I'm going into the playoffs, I want to have the Warriors on the bench. I don't want zombies, guys that have no volume, or you're waiting, your guy that you've been waiting on for all season long, just so you can say, Greg Dortch scored a touchdown. Yeah, that's me. I'm that guy. I still have Greg Dortch on my bench. So Roma Dunze is definitely one of those guys that I definitely want to target priority on the waiver wire this week.
Until you said that, I was about to just pop off about starting Jalen McMillan this week. I was mostly because circumstances were dire, but I did start Jalen McMillan this week after waiting all year long for him to actually do things. Florio, Laquan talked about having headaches and trying to figure out wide receivers, which sort of brings me to Tim Patrick, because when he was in Denver, I felt like a breakout year was coming for him with the Broncos. They let him go. He goes to the Lions. It was quiet for most of the year. Last couple of weeks really started to pick it up. Obviously, he had the 2 touchdowns this week, which is a really big deal. starting to see more targets. Is it enough that he's worth starting, or is it like just enough that he's going to be an annoyance for anybody else?
That. I mean, yeah, like the 2 touchdowns was great, 7 targets, but every game prior to that, 4 or fewer this year. And the thing is, Amon-Ra St. Brown is not going away. Jamison Williams is not going away. Those pass catching running backs are not going away. And now we're also seeing Sam Laporta utilized a little bit more, especially in the red zone. So I feel, look, I like Odunze more than Tim Patrick, but my viewpoint is like, unless I'm really weak at wide receiver, this is the time of year where I'd rather use my bench spots on running backs because they're one injury away from being a player that we could start every single week. Like, I added Patrick Taylor in a couple of leagues last week thinking like this isn't going to come to anything, but now it might. So this is like, unless again, I need a wide receiver, I'm going to let someone else pick these guys up and I'm going to be adding the running backs this week.
Yeah, I mean, this obviously, Sonic and Knuckles kind of the big things going on there with the Detroit Lions. And besides, as you mentioned, St. Brown, I guess Sam Laporta starting to flash a little bit too. So a couple names to kind of keep in mind there. Speaking of tight ends, that gets us to our Jonnu Smith update. It was looking so good for you, Laquan. He had 0 catches for the entirety of regulation in the Dolphins game against the Jets. And then in overtime, Jonnu came to life. 3 catches, 44 yards, and the game-winning touchdown, 13.4 fantasy points, all in overtime. He's the tight end 4 right now. He has passed Travis Kelce. He's 1.8 points ahead of Travis Kelce, nearly 24 points ahead of the tight end 6, who is Cade Otton. I mean, it's not over, but man, it's looking bleak for you right now, buddy.
It's over. It's over. Like I literally had tweets lined up celebrating like, yo, 0 points. This is exactly what we needed. I was like so excited for Cade Otton putting up 10 points. I'm like, this is all I need to give it a chance. And then you get Zach Ertz, Mark Andrews back from bye. This can make this thing possible for him just to finish right outside the top 5. But no, he wants to turn up in overtime. Look, soon that play right there, as soon as he called the ball and got up and screamed, I was like, oh no, I'm screwed. Mike McDaniel's going to lean into this. He's going to activate Jonnu Smith in overtime. This secret weapon that was just non-existent for 4 quarters. But in the 5th quarter, of course, Jonnu needs to show up and show out and make my hair blonde.
We know for a fact that Jonnu Smith knows about this bet. He is aware that your hair is on the line right now.
Yes. We heard from our friend insider reporter Cameron Wolf, who actually we're going to try to get him in studio with us on Wednesday for the show. But he did explain your plight to Jonnu Smith, to which I think the response was something to the effect of, good, I hope he goes blonde because he doubted me. And now you're going to pay for it. Look, this is a thing we love.
We're going to say they like Jonnu. Your hair is going to prove it.
Absolutely.
Look, I found the color, though. Strawberry blonde.
There it is.
Doesn't look bad. Doesn't look bad.
We got it. All right,
that's going to be full circle for this whole season.
That is for sure going to be a moment we love. That is time now for Moments We Love, presented by Barefoot Wine. And shout out, because the Vikings have had some really good celebrations, but Cam Bynum and Josh Metellus had a team celebration after they intercepted Kirk Cousins. They recreated the dance from the movie White Chicks. It was fantastic. Tom Pelissero, our own insider, tweeted about it after he asked Cam Bynum. He said, we watched it a million times. The mental reps is everything, just like watching film. You watch it, then it's all right, Josh, we got to master it. Took 30 minutes one day just to master it. I am impressed, Florio, by the commitment to excellence by the Vikings defense on this one.
This is what, the 3rd or 4th time that their celebration has been the moment we love. Like it, I want to know what they have. Like every week, I hope they get a pick 6 because they're just gonna pull something out, and it's always from like a movie that you probably haven't thought of in a long time. But then you see it, and you're like, oh my god, like it's from White Chicks or something like that.
Oh man, it was fantastic. So shout out to the Vikings, who did not allow the Kirk Cousins revenge game to happen because they shut it down and had a little bit of fun in the process. There you go. That's Moments We Love.
Crispy that foot was.
By Barefoot Wine. Now for us, that is it. We are done. We appreciate you hanging out with the NFL Fantasy Football Show. You know the drill. Tell 2 friends to tell 2 friends. Rate, review, and remember, dream of a better tomorrow where chickens can cross the road and not be questioned about their motives. Be safe, take care of yourselves, and we will talk to you tomorrow.